that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either.
Oprah is limited in the context of the files, but there is clear collusion between Oprah and Jeffrey Epstein.
I've been excluded on Oprah, you know.
On Oprah?
On Oprah.
I'm not part of the club. That wasn't just some throwaway line. It sounded like a straight-up warning, the kind you only give when you've spent decades inside the machine and seen how it really operates behind closed doors. The man who said it? Ice Cube, one of the most fearless voices in hip-hop history. Co-creator of NWA, the guy who went after the government in his music, built a successful film career, launched businesses, and somehow managed to survive Hollywood without selling his soul to the system. But according to Cube, that independence came at a price. Because in Hollywood, there's supposedly a club. A tight circle of gatekeepers who decide who gets lifted up, who gets protected, who gets silenced, and who gets buried. For years, Ice Cube said he was repeatedly shut out. Whole movie casts would hit the big talk shows, but he was nowhere to be found. Projects he created got publicity, yet he was erased from the conversation. Eventually, he started asking the dangerous question, why? Why did it feel like certain powerful people didn't want him on their platforms? What was he saying that made the industry so uncomfortable? At first, a lot of people brushed it off. But then the world shifted. Jeffrey Epstein's name blew up everywhere: flight logs, elite connections, hidden networks linking celebrities, politicians, and billionaires. Suddenly, the idea of powerful circles protecting their own didn't sound so crazy anymore. Then another name kept coming up: Oprah Winfrey. A woman whose brand was built on trust, empowerment, and truth-telling. But critics started highlighting uncomfortable connections, her name appearing in Epstein-related documents, her longtime public friendship with Harvey Weinstein, her associations with Sean Diddy Combs, and the disturbing allegations and rumors surrounding her leadership academy for girls in South Africa. Let's be very clear right now. This video isn't about declaring anyone guilty. We're looking at documented connections, public statements, patterns, and controversies that deserve real scrutiny. When the same names keep showing up around multiple scandals, people naturally start asking questions. And according to Ice Cube, this isn't just about one person. It's about a system. A machine that protects itself, rewards silence, and punishes those who step out of line. Other big names have hinted at the same thing: Dave Chappelle walking away from millions, and Monique claiming she was blackballed for saying no. Ice Cube kept talking even as doors closed on him. Now the internet is revisiting every warning he dropped and wondering, were they really just paranoia? Or were they previews of what we're seeing today? If these gatekeepers actually exist, the real question isn't just who's in the club. It's what exactly are they protecting? And why are so many people still terrified to talk about it? Tonight, we're pulling every thread. By the end, you might never look at Hollywood the same way again. Before we dive into why Ice Cube's warnings are blowing up again right now, you need to understand exactly who he is. Because Ice Cube isn't just another celebrity with hot takes on the internet. He's a guy who's been in the entertainment industry for over 3 decades, seen the power structure from the inside, and still managed to build his own empire while refusing to fully play by Hollywood's rules. Born O'Shea Jackson in South Central Los Angeles, Cube grew up in one of the roughest periods in the city's history: gang violence, police brutality, crack epidemic, and crushing poverty all around him. Instead of running from that reality, he put it straight into his music. His lyrics were raw, unfiltered, and brutally honest. At a time when most mainstream artists stayed quiet about life in the inner city, Cube described it in vivid, aggressive detail. That honesty made him a star, but it also made a lot of powerful people very uncomfortable. Then came NWA. The group didn't just change rap music, they shook mainstream America to its core. Songs like "Fuck the Police" openly called out police brutality and systemic abuse. The backlash was massive. The FBI even sent a warning letter to the group. Think about that. A rap group from Compton had the federal government paying attention to their lyrics. That kind of cultural impact turned Ice Cube into more than just a musician. He became a symbol of resistance. After leaving NWA, a lot of people expected him to fade away. Instead, he completely reinvented himself. He dropped successful solo albums, broke into Hollywood, started writing and producing films, and slowly built a real business empire. Movies like Boys and the Hood, Friday, and Barbershop didn't just make money, they helped define a whole era of black cinema. What set Cube apart was that he learned how to create his own opportunities instead of depending on major studios for everything. That independence became his trademark. Over the years, Cube earned a reputation for speaking his mind, no matter the consequences. He didn't sound scripted. He called out political games, media manipulation, and what he described as gatekeepers in Hollywood, the powerful insiders who decide who gets promoted, who gets protected, and who gets quietly erased from the spotlight. To him, the industry wasn't really about talent. It was about access, connections, loyalty, and knowing which lines you're never supposed to cross. What makes his perspective compelling is that other artists and actors have quietly hinted at the same experiences: sudden career disappearances, being labeled difficult, or getting pressured to stay silent on certain topics. Ice Cube always positioned himself as the outsider who refused to fully join the club. And according to him, that decision came with real consequences. He's talked about being left out of major media appearances even when projects he created were being heavily promoted. Entire casts would show up on big talk shows while he was nowhere to be seen. To him, it wasn't random bad luck, it felt deliberate. The more independent he stayed, the more resistance he seemed to face from certain parts of the mainstream machine. For a long time, many people dismissed his complaints as bitterness or paranoia. But then public trust in Hollywood and elite institutions started crumbling. The Harvey Weinstein scandal exposed how long abuse could be hidden in plain sight. Then the Jeffrey Epstein files dropped, revealing how interconnected the worlds of celebrities, billionaires, and power really were. Suddenly, the idea of secret circles protecting each other didn't sound so far-fetched. That's when old Ice Cube interviews started circulating again. People went back and listened to his comments about gatekeepers and industry politics with fresh ears. And that's where Oprah Winfrey's name entered the conversation. Oprah wasn't just any celebrity. For decades, she was seen as one of the most trusted and powerful voices in media, a symbol of inspiration and truth. But as people started connecting old controversies, some began asking whether her relationships and influence deserved closer examination. To Ice Cube's supporters, the picture looked suspicious. A media powerhouse, alleged gatekeeping, Epstein-related mentions, longtime ties to figures like Weinstein and Diddy, and unresolved questions around her South African academy. Whether these connections prove actual wrongdoing is a separate debate. But once the internet spotted a pattern, everything started getting viewed through a much darker lens. That's why Ice Cube's warnings hit differently today than they did years ago. Back then, people laughed them off. Now, after everything we've seen with powerful elites, some are starting to wonder if he was describing a side of Hollywood most people were never meant to see. The controversy around Oprah Winfrey didn't blow up overnight. It built up slowly over many years, with small moments that seemed unrelated at the time. But after the Jeffrey Epstein files dropped and several big Hollywood names started falling, people suddenly began connecting the dots. What once looked like random incidents started forming a pattern that the internet couldn't stop talking about. For a long time, Oprah's image was almost bulletproof. She wasn't seen as just another celebrity, she was viewed as a trusted voice. Her show shaped public opinion, her endorsements could make or break careers, and her brand stood for empowerment, truth, and lifting people up. Very few dared to question her power. But behind the polished image, some artists had been dropping subtle hints for years that things might not be exactly as they appeared. One of those voices was Ice Cube. Cube has repeatedly spoken about being shut out of major platforms. He's described situations where movies he produced and starred in got heavy promotion, but he personally wasn't invited to the biggest shows. A big example fans always bring up is the movie Barbershop. According to Cube, the cast appeared on Oprah's show, but he, the writer, producer, and driving force behind the film, was left out. He says similar things happened with other projects too. At the time, most people didn't pay much attention. Hollywood exclusions happened constantly, but Cube's frustration seemed deeper. He talked about gatekeepers who control access, narratives, and visibility. He believed that if you refused to fully play the game, the industry could quietly sideline you. Then everything changed. Harvey Weinstein's downfall sent shockwaves through Hollywood. For decades, he was one of the most powerful producers in the business. When the abuse allegations finally came out, people started asking how so many insiders either didn't know or stayed silent for so long. That's when old photos and connections involving Oprah began resurfacing. People saw her smiling next to Weinstein at award shows and events. Photos don't prove anything illegal, but for someone known as a champion for women and justice, those images felt uncomfortable to many once Weinstein's crimes were exposed. Then came Epstein. As court documents and discussions around Jeffrey Epstein's network dominated headlines, the internet went into detective mode. Among the names that kept coming up in conversations was Oprah Winfrey. Let's be clear. Simply being mentioned in documents or contact lists doesn't mean criminal involvement. Many public figures appeared without facing accusations. But once her name was in the mix, people started digging into older stories. One that got heavy attention involved Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York. Reports showed Ferguson communicating with Epstein while preparing for an Oprah interview. Online commentators claimed Epstein was giving advice on how to handle questions. Critics called it suspicious coordination, while defenders said it was taken out of context. Either way, it added more fuel to the fire. Around the same time, attention returned to Oprah's Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. When it opened in 2007, it was hailed as an incredible humanitarian achievement. Oprah poured millions into it. But shortly after launching, serious allegations surfaced about abuse by a dormitory staff member. Students came forward with claims of misconduct. Oprah publicly expressed heartbreak and promised to fix it. However, over the years, darker rumors grew. Online claims that multiple girls connected to the school had gone missing. Many of these stories remain unverified or disputed, but once mixed with the Epstein mentions, the internet started drawing its own conclusions. Then Diddy entered the spotlight again. As lawsuits and investigations around Sean Diddy Combs intensified, people revisited every celebrity who had been publicly linked to him. Oprah had interviewed him, attended events with him, and moved in the same circles. Critics argued that the same powerful names kept appearing around major scandals. Supporters fired back that networking isn't evidence of guilt. But by this point, public trust had already eroded badly. Social media turned everyone into an investigator. Old clips went viral. Old interviews got new life. And suddenly, Ice Cube's longtime warnings about gatekeepers started sounding a lot less like paranoia and a lot more like insight. People began asking, was Cube describing the same elite entertainment world that's now being exposed through Weinstein, Epstein, and Diddy? Not necessarily direct crimes, but a culture where power protects power and independence comes with consequences. The more those old clips spread, the louder the conversation got. As the internet dug deeper, the conversation moved beyond random controversies and started forming a bigger, more complicated picture. People weren't just looking at separate incidents anymore. They were building timelines, mapping relationships, revisiting old interviews, and asking whether everything pointed to a larger culture operating behind the scenes in Hollywood. At the heart of it all was one idea: protection. Not necessarily legal protection, but social, media, and reputational protection. The sense that certain powerful figures are shielded by networks so influential that criticism rarely sticks unless the evidence becomes overwhelming. This is exactly why so many people started paying fresh attention to Ice Cube's long-standing comments about gatekeepers. Cube has always described Hollywood as a place where access is tightly controlled by insiders, the ones who greenlight interviews, push careers, and quietly sideline anyone who doesn't play along. He's consistently presented himself as the outsider who refused to fully join the system. For years, those comments sounded vague to a lot of people. But after Weinstein's fall and the Epstein revelations, many started hearing his words in a completely different way. Then one particular story added serious fuel: the communications between Sarah Ferguson and Jeffrey Epstein regarding an Oprah interview. According to reports tied to the Epstein documents, Ferguson allegedly reached out to Epstein while preparing to appear on Oprah's show, asking for advice on how to handle questions about him. Epstein reportedly sent back suggested talking points. To critics online, this looked like Oprah's platform was being used, even indirectly, to help manage Epstein's public image. Defenders say there's no proof Oprah herself was involved or knew about the exchange. Still, once the story spread, the nuance got lost for many. At the same time, the spotlight returned to Oprah's Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. When it launched in 2007, it was celebrated worldwide as a powerful act of philanthropy. Oprah invested heavily, both money and personal attention. But months after opening, allegations of sexual abuse by a dormitory employee surfaced. Students spoke out, lawsuits followed, and the story made international headlines. Oprah said she was devastated and promised to make things right. Years later, social media brought the story back in an even darker light. Online creators started sharing claims that several girls connected to the academy had gone missing over time. While many of these allegations remain unverified or lack strong evidence, the narrative stuck for a lot of people once it mixed with the other controversies. Then came the relationships with powerful men whose reputations later collapsed. Old photos of Oprah with Harvey Weinstein at events and award shows resurfaced everywhere. Again, photos alone don't prove knowledge of wrongdoing. Weinstein was deeply embedded in Hollywood for decades. But critics pointed out the contradiction. Oprah later became a prominent voice in the Me Too movement. Singer Seal publicly called her out, suggesting that many powerful figures had heard rumors about Weinstein long before the scandals broke. Attention also turned to Diddy. As lawsuits and investigations around Sean Combs grew, people dug up every past connection. Oprah had interviewed him multiple times and appeared with him at events. The pattern critics kept highlighting was the same names repeatedly showing up around major scandals. Then Monique entered the conversation again. She has claimed for years that she was blackballed after refusing certain demands from powerful people connected to the movie Precious, specifically naming Oprah and others. Whether you believe every detail or not, her story of being punished for saying no resonated strongly with people already skeptical of Hollywood politics. Even Dave Chappelle got pulled back in. After walking away from a huge deal, he described feeling mentally and psychologically pressured by the industry. At the time, many painted him as erratic. Years later, his old interviews hit differently. To many, he seemed to be describing the same controlling environment Ice Cube had warned about. Slowly, a clear narrative took shape online. Speak out or refuse to play the game get labeled difficult or crazy and lose opportunities. Stay compliant, keep getting access, protection, and promotion. None of this automatically proves a giant criminal conspiracy. Public friendships and overlapping social circles aren't evidence of guilt. But in the age of social media, perception often becomes stronger than proof. And right now, the perception is that Ice Cube may have been describing a real system of hidden influence, selective silence, and protected power for years. A system where the public only sees the glamorous surface, while the real decisions happen quietly behind closed doors. Once the internet fully latched onto the story connecting Ice Cube, Oprah Winfrey, and Hollywood's hidden power structures, things got intense. Social media turned into a battlefield. On one side, people believed Ice Cube had been trying to warn everyone for years about gatekeepers operating behind the scenes. On the other side, critics accused online creators of stitching together loose connections and turning them into full-blown conspiracy theories. That divide only made the conversation spread faster. Many viewers argued that people had been too trusting of celebrity culture for far too long. They pointed to Harvey Weinstein, who operated with immense power for decades, while rumors allegedly swirled in the background. They referenced Jeffrey Epstein, who maintained relationships with the rich, famous, and powerful long after serious red flags appeared. To them, when old photos and connections involving Oprah started resurfacing, her appearances with Weinstein, mentions in Epstein-related discussions, and the controversies around her academy, it was reasonable to start asking serious questions. Online creators jumped in hard. Long breakdown videos, viral clip compilations, and pattern breakdowns started racking up millions of views. Old Ice Cube interviews about gatekeepers exploded again across YouTube, TikTok, and X. What once sounded like one man's bitterness now felt prophetic to a lot of people. Hashtags linking Oprah, Epstein, Diddy, and Hollywood elites kept trending. But not everyone was convinced. Journalists, media analysts, and Oprah supporters pushed back strongly. They argued that appearing in contact lists, attending the same events, or being photographed with controversial figures doesn't equal guilt or involvement in crimes. They warned that social media was dangerously blurring the line between association and evidence. Many highlighted Oprah's decades of philanthropy, school building, and platforming marginalized voices, saying it was unfair to reduce her entire legacy to online speculation. They also pointed out something practical. In Hollywood, powerful people constantly cross paths. It would be strange if someone as influential as Oprah didn't know other major players. Still, critics of that defense weren't satisfied. They kept emphasizing the repetition, the same names appearing near multiple scandals over many years. To them, that pattern deserved scrutiny, even if direct proof of wrongdoing remained absent. Mainstream media's response was noticeably cautious. Most big outlets avoided diving deep into the online theories. Some addressed the resurfaced discussions briefly, but the coverage felt minimal to many observers. This hesitation triggered another wave of backlash online. People accused traditional media of protecting elite celebrities and operating as part of the same system Ice Cube had warned about. That accusation hit hard because trust in mainstream media was already low. Many viewers believe outlets choose which stories to amplify and which ones to bury. So when they saw aggressive coverage of certain scandals, but hesitation around others, it reinforced the idea that gatekeeping is very real. This moment also brought back voices like Monique, who has long claimed she was blackballed after refusing demands from powerful figures tied to Precious, including Oprah. What many once dismissed as a personal grudge now felt more believable to skeptics. Dave Chappelle's old interviews about feeling psychologically pressured by the industry got new attention too. To Ice Cube's supporters, his credibility comes from the fact that he built real success while staying independent. He wasn't criticizing the system because it rejected him, he rejected full participation in it. That independence, they argue, allowed him to speak more freely than most. Of course, others see it differently. They believe the internet is taking normal celebrity networking and emotional storytelling and turning it into sensational content for views. Regardless of which side you fall on, the controversy became symbolic. For some, Oprah represents how even the most trusted public figures might be part of hidden influence networks. For others, she represents how quickly suspicion can spread online without solid proof. Either way, millions of people are no longer looking at Hollywood the same. The glamorous image has taken a serious hit. At the center of all this noise is one uncomfortable question. What if Ice Cube wasn't talking about just one person? What if his warnings about the club were really about an entire system, a culture inside Hollywood where power, access, and protection matter more than talent or integrity? When you step back, the thing that keeps people hooked isn't any single photo, leaked document, or scandal. It's the repetition. The same kinds of stories keep showing up across decades. Powerful figures surrounded by rumors for years, victims ignored until things explode publicly, and insiders who speak out often describing the same gatekeeping behavior. That's why the Oprah conversation grew much bigger than Oprah herself. She became a symbol, fairly or unfairly, of elite influence and how power operates in entertainment. For decades, Oprah wasn't just a celebrity. She was a narrative shaper. One appearance on her platform could turn unknowns into stars and books into bestsellers. Politicians courted her endorsement. She built an empire based on trust and empowerment. That level of cultural power makes people look at her connections differently. When someone that influential keeps showing up near major scandals, Harvey Weinstein, Diddy Combs, Epstein document mentions, audiences start wondering if extreme success creates its own kind of invisible protection. Not necessarily criminal protection, but reputational and media protection. History gives us examples. Weinstein's behavior was apparently an open secret in Hollywood circles for years, yet the system protected him until it couldn't anymore. Epstein maintained relationships with the global elite long after serious allegations surfaced. These cases made people more willing to believe that influence networks can shield people for a very long time. This is why Ice Cube's perspective feels relevant today. He's described an industry that punishes independence and rewards compliance. Once you stop playing by the unwritten rules, whether that means staying silent, staying loyal, or protecting the image, opportunities start drying up. He's not alone in suggesting this. Dave Chappelle walked away from huge money and later described feeling mentally cornered and manipulated by the industry machine. At the time, many called him crazy. Years later, those same interviews hit differently for a lot of people. Monique has told a similar story for years, claiming she was blackballed after refusing certain demands from powerful people connected to Precious, including Oprah. Whether every detail is accurate or not, her experience fits the pattern many now believe exists. Say no to the wrong people and your career pays the price. The bigger truth might be simpler than conspiracy theories suggest. Hollywood runs on relationships. Studios, executives, agents, producers, and media all exist in the same small world. Public image is everything. If you become difficult, challenge the wrong people, or threaten the brand, you can disappear quietly, no grand conspiracy needed. Just normal power dynamics at work. The internet often jumps straight to extremes, but the reality can be more subtle and still very damaging. Some people get endless second chances. Others get erased overnight. Critics say the online world is taking normal industry friction and turning it into grand conspiracy content for clicks. Supporters argue Ice Cube saw the game clearly and chose to stay independent. One thing is certain, this controversy exploded because people no longer trust institutions like they used to. After years of scandals in government, media, churches, and entertainment, audiences are skeptical of polished images and powerful figures. In that environment, every old controversy connected to Oprah feels heavier than it once did. The South African Academy issues, the resurfaced connections, the accusations from other celebrities, the Epstein mentions. Taken one by one, none automatically prove serious wrongdoing. But together, they create a story that feels believable to millions right now. And maybe that's the real hidden truth behind Ice Cube's warning. Not one giant secret organization controlling everything, but a natural consequence of fame, money, and influence, environments where the powerful protect each other and outsiders pay the price for speaking too freely. Once you start seeing that pattern, it's hard to unsee it. Right now, the conversation around Ice Cube, Oprah Winfrey, and Hollywood gatekeeping is still evolving fast. Unlike many celebrity scandals that fade after a few weeks, this one keeps resurfacing because it touches on something much deeper: the public's growing distrust of elite institutions and the entertainment industry's inner workings. So far, Oprah herself has not directly addressed most of the online theories linking her to Epstein or broader Hollywood protection networks. Her public image remains incredibly strong, and mainstream media still treats her as one of the most powerful and respected figures in television history. To her supporters, the wave of online speculation is a clear example of how social media can take loose associations and turn them into damaging narratives without solid proof. And that concern is valid. The internet moves at lightning speed. Viral clips, edited compilations, and emotional commentary can shape millions of opinions in hours. Once a story catches fire, it becomes very hard to correct or slow down. At the same time, critics argue that mainstream media often hides behind lack of evidence to avoid asking tough questions about powerful people. This tension between healthy skepticism and outright suspicion is exactly why the discussion continues to grow. Meanwhile, the ongoing legal troubles and allegations surrounding Sean Diddy Combs keep feeding public distrust. Every new lawsuit or headline sends people back to older connections and makes them question how the entertainment industry really operates behind closed doors. Each time another major figure faces serious accusations, Ice Cube's old warnings get another look. What makes Cube stand out is that he's never fully relied on mainstream Hollywood approval. He's built his own lane through music, film, and business, and he continues speaking directly to audiences through podcasts, independent interviews, and platforms that don't require gatekeeper permission. In today's climate, that independence resonates with a lot of people. Audiences are increasingly drawn to voices that feel authentic and anti-establishment. Trust in traditional celebrity culture has dropped sharply. People have watched too many polished images crumble to accept everything at face value anymore. Social media has completely changed the game. Old clips never truly disappear. Independent creators can reach bigger audiences than some traditional networks. Scandals can explode globally overnight. This new reality means even the most powerful figures like Oprah no longer enjoy the same level of protection they once did. Some believe we're witnessing the beginning of a permanent shift in how celebrity culture works. In the past, powerful institutions could control narratives and protect their own. Today, millions of everyday people act as decentralized investigators, digging through archives, comparing timelines, and sharing forgotten interviews. This can lead to real accountability, but it can also create misinformation and unfair targeting. That's the difficult balance we're all navigating now. Importantly, there is still no definitive public evidence proving Oprah committed any criminal acts related to Epstein or other disgraced figures. Public associations and social overlaps are not the same as guilt. However, in the internet age, perception often carries more weight than official proof. And right now, the perception of Hollywood has changed permanently. Many people no longer look at elite entertainment circles with admiration. Instead, they approach them with suspicion, wondering how many more scandals are still hidden and which powerful figures are being protected. This shift might end up being the biggest outcome of this entire controversy, not necessarily proving every theory, but shattering the illusion that fame and success automatically equal trustworthiness. As for Ice Cube, he seems perfectly comfortable staying outside the traditional system. And ironically, the same gatekeeping he criticized may be losing power because of the internet. People no longer need major networks to hear different perspectives. Once public trust starts collapsing, controlling the story becomes nearly impossible. Now audiences question everything, every old friendship, every resurfaced clip, every convenient silence. Whether this leads to more truth, more chaos, or a mix of both, one thing is certain: Hollywood's glamorous image has been cracked. Behind the awards, the wealth, and the inspirational moments, many now believe there are systems of influence operating quietly in the background. Some think Ice Cube saw it clearly years ago. Others think the internet is overreaching. But no matter which side you're on, this conversation isn't going away. So after everything we've covered, Ice Cube's warnings about the club, the resurfaced interviews, the Epstein connections, the controversies around Oprah, the stories from Monique, Dave Chappelle, and the pattern of Hollywood gatekeeping, I want to hear what you actually think. Do you believe Ice Cube has been exposing real truths about how power works in entertainment for years? Or do you think the internet is connecting too many dots and turning speculation into conspiracy? One thing is clear: public trust in Hollywood and elite celebrity culture has been permanently damaged. People are questioning everything now: every interview, every friendship, every powerful connection, and every story that gets buried or amplified. That's exactly why videos like this matter. Not because we should believe every rumor online, but because no one, no matter how rich, famous, or influential, should be above scrutiny. History has shown us time and again that major scandals in this industry stayed hidden for years until the pressure became too big to ignore. Now it's your turn. Do you think there really are gatekeepers controlling access and narratives behind the scenes? Do you believe certain celebrities are unfairly targeted because of their success? Or do you suspect there's a deeper system at play that most people still don't fully understand? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below. I read them, and I'm genuinely curious where people stand on this. This topic has split the internet right down the middle. And if you made it all the way to the end, thank you. Make sure to hit that like button if this video made you think differently, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We're only getting started. There are way more hidden industry stories, celebrity controversies, and investigations coming that mainstream media usually avoids.